Welcome back to Magic is Fun. My name is Kyle, and there's pretty much nothing more fun than new cards. Even cards like the ones in Phyrexia All Will Be One that basically amount to a homework assignment to read all of them. But don't worry, you don't have to read all of them because I read all of them, and Mark probably read some of them. And he's here to join us today to help us talk. But he also has somebody with him.
My absolute spike of a wife, Mythic Bethany. That's what we call her.
I want it to be Mythic something cooler, but I haven't figured out how to change my username on Arena. I think I could probably do it from a computer and not my iPad, but that's too hard.
No.
So Mythic Bethany.
She's just here to be in the top 100. And like a proper spike, I have also read all the cards from this set. They are broken.
I can guarantee he's read them because he sat there and read them to me like 30 minutes ago so that I didn't sound like a dummy on this podcast.
Look at this one.
On this YouTube
Look
video.
at this magic card.
I think this is really fun because I am pretty hyped for this set, as you said. I think these cards that we're looking at, this list of 10, everyone's got their top 10 whatever bullshit list. These are the ones defined on the highly scientific criteria of funness. These are not the best. These are not the most played. These are not the most format warping. These are just the ones that we think will be the most fun to play with. And I think, we need some actual player credibility. I'm not joking. Bethany really is very good at Magic. She's consistently in the top 100 Mythic, and that's just neat. And so this gives us maybe an air of credibility. So thank you for being here.
I have
Mark,
not. No, go ahead.
Did you forget that girls don't play Magic?
Oh, I forgot.
No, they do. Have you not seen all of those female presenting avatars that people have on Arena that scare the shit out of me?
No,
I'm just saying, you get that that red old lady looking one,
Jaya.
scares me. I am just like, she's gonna up. Wait, are we cussing on this thing?
I'll beep it out.
Thank you. But I did not read all of the cards, and I will say up front, I am more of a visual learner, so I have to read things instead of people telling them to me, and I have to take
confirm as somebody who tried to teach Bethany how to play Magic 10 years ago.
Speaking of trashy equipment, why don't we kick this list off with our one and only honorable mention? You keep trying to make Boros equipment happen. Fetch will not happen. Why don't you tell people what trash pile I finally was able to kick out of the top 10?
Okay, look, everybody. It's Jorkadine. And here's the thing. You're probably like, how come they keep trying to make Boros equipment a thing? Who is this for? It's for me. I want so badly Boros equipment to do a thing. And the problem with a lot of Boros equipment, anybody out there who's ever built a Voltron commander deck can feel me. I'm talking about standard, though, is just on turn 4 or 5 where you're trying to play your equipment bomb, even 3 sometimes, like with Akari, Fearless Voyager or whatever, like it just doesn't work. And I think Jorkadine being a 2-drop is the thing that's going to push it over the line. Having Trample is awesome. The fact that you get awarded, shut up. The fact that you get awarded for multiple equipments instead of just relying on one equipment, and the fact that it's pretty easy to draw a card off of this. Look, it's not going to work. I know it's not going to work.
Here's the problem with this card. It's actually not easy to draw a card off of it because it has to attack. So this is going to enter the battlefield, sit there, do nothing. Then you got to equip it. And then you have to attack with a 4 power to get the card. So I just think it's going to be one of those things.
It's going to work. It's going to look, turn 1, turn 1, you drop an equipment. Turn 2, you drop this. Turn 3, you suit it up. Like, we're going. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. But I'm just a sucker for Boros equipment decks.
Here's what's going to happen. Are they going to make an avatar with Jorkadine? And you're going to be like, that's me. That's the one I choose from this Masters set.
I was going to be the one schmuck at pre-release that actually stands up and goes, for Mirrodin!
And buys all of the card sleeves that look like this or whatever.
Nobody wants that.
I got to type, okay?
The proper top 10. It's bomb time. We're talking about, this card right here. All the mana.
Are we going like 10 to 1? Like best to worst?
Now we're going 10 to 1.
Or worst to best?
Well, least fun to most fun.
Least fun to most fun.
Yeah. And with this next card, Atraxa, I got to tell you, it's going to be a lot of fun when you play it, but it is not going to be fun when somebody plays it against you.
So, big ol' Atraxa, Phyrexian Angel, right? Dies to removal. It's not Woo Berg, it's Woo Erg. Because there's no red, but there's everything else, like you hinted at already. This is not a kind of card you want to just cast for 7, almost certainly, but you can reanimate it. And even though reanimation spells are really good in standard right now, with Invoke Justice being chief among them and some other ones we might talk about, it's not really like a bomb you can reanimate in a creature, right? There's no like, boom, this hits the table, just absolutely scoop up your cards. This is as close as you can get, right? All the keyword abilities, the biggest boy, and just a complete refill from the top 10. It's pretty ridiculous. It's, I think, going to be a meme card. I don't think this is going to be something that people are going to do in standard, but if a reanimator is a thing, then this is the kind of card you want to have to
The
hit the battlefield.
the
It's
fact that it
nice.
has lifelink is the thing, but that's what you're really looking for in Reanimator. You're looking for a card that if it stays on the battlefield, if you're able to cheat this out, your opponent's just gonna die. Like a 14-point life swing in the air with vigilance. There's no coming back from this thing being on the table. But the thing that
Go for the throat.
the most important thing, honestly, for Reanimator is a solid ETB trigger. Looking at the top 10 cards, you get to look at a lot of cards, and you get to
Yeah.
put an artifact, a battle. We still don't know what that is. Creature, enchantment, instant, land, planeswalker, and sorcery. Putting one of those in your hand, it's bananas. Like, this is a bomb control finisher because it's such a refill. You do have to play a diverse, but even if like you look in the top 10, even if you just pick up a planeswalker, an instant, and a land, like that's pretty good. That's a draw 3 on your finisher, on your threat for your control game. Like, I don't know, it's pretty sick, and I can't wait to cheat it out.
I think it's going to be one of those things that's fun when it works, but you're going to be spending a lot of games getting run to the ground by aggro decks.
Getting blitzed.
And I mean, I've been playing ladder this month, so that's all I know is aggro,
Yeah.
basically.
That's
But
why we're excited about rotation, because
Yeah.
playing, oh, what flavor of aggro will smite me down now? Kind of
The
sick of it.
lifelink does do a big job. Like, lifelink and vigilance on this thing. Like, what does mono red do against this thing if it hits the table? Nothing. They
Well,
but
can't
how are you
swing it.
going to get to when you hit the table?
That's-
Yeah,
the
you
trick.
gotta you're gonna have to get to turn 4 or 5 to get the reanimator target out. But if you're able to live to that point, like, they can't swing into this.
Yeah. I think I would fear maybe like a mono white soldiers though, because one brutal Cathar away.
Yeah.
Of course, now you remove that brutal Cathar, you're getting another ETB trigger, which is nice. But yeah, it's a bomb. It's a reanimation target. We'll see if there's anything else. The mana bases with all the triomes are maybe strong enough to cast this regular style. I mean, 7 mana. This is, not crazy.
You played a reanimator deck a lot recently, right?
Yeah, I played a Boros Reanimator, and it was fun, a Jet Sky Reanimator version, but all of it's going through, like, Invoke Justice. Maybe this is something people are going to reanimate. We'll see. We'll see.
I
how it
You know what
play
I
a
want to do
portal.
with it? Chaotic transformation.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I was just about to say. I played
Yeah.
a Portal to Phyrexia Chaotic Transformation deck for a while. That was really fun. Could not get me anywhere in ladder, but was
No.
very fun to play when it actually worked. So
We'll see.
I guess the reason why Atraxa makes the list is, and just like all the other cards on this list, we're gonna make a deck out of this. Like, we're gonna try to make Atraxa work. Will it be good? I don't know, but it is going to be fun.
and maybe I'll have enough lands.
Next up is Glissa Sunslayer. She's out here
Glissa.
just punching. Glissa Sunslayer. She's out here
Glissa.
punching stars. Just a big old Golgari value pile, and I absolutely love it. Three mana for 3/3, so already stat wise pretty good. But first strike and death touch, that could be the end of the card, and I would want to play it because of the absolute. We were trying to do the blocking math earlier, and I was like, "Yeah, you're screwed." Basically, if you try to go up
We had
against
to
this card
Google
in
it
combat.
to reconfirm
was like,
how first
"Oh."
strike and death strike and all that works. So
I hate getting caught by this.
Yeah.
But the real power on this card is the abilities that trigger when you do combat damage. So if you deal combat damage,
Which,
to a player,
because of First Strike and Death Touch, you assume you're going to be doing all the time.
no one's
Mhm.
going to want to blacklist unless you're just, it's chump block for days, right? That's what's happening. Someone puts, maybe the worst case scenario is they've got, their little 1/1 tokens coming from wedding announcement. They're just throwing them in front of this. But that's still, you're chump blocking, you're doing something. If you do get that combat damage in there, you can do a Phyrexian Arena. You can draw a card and lose 1 life. Pretty damn good. So it's always going to be relevant. You're going to always want that card draw. You can destroy an enchantment. Situationally very helpful. And then I think this one is sneakily underrated. Remove up to 3 counters from a target permanent. Looks pretty good. You think about oil counters or whatever, proliferate stuff. But this can just murk a Planeswalker's loyalty counters right off of it, out of nowhere. So you're getting the damage and you're being like, oh, see you later, Wandering Emperor. You're done. 3 gone. That is just a lot of versatility on a single body. I am really excited to play this card.
You know what it reminds me of? Like now that especially that you mentioned that way, it definitely reminds me of questing beasts. Obviously, doesn't have like some of the keyword abilities, but the idea that they could be sitting there with their whatever planeswalker on 3, and you don't even need to attack them. Like you just attack the person and then remove 3 counters if they're sitting on an empty board. It does so much and asks for so little at 3 mana. And if I know you are as if I'm a stupid sucker for Boros equipment, you are a dumb sucker for Golgori value.
There you go.
Is
Yeah.
I
that
got
green
there.
black?
Yeah.
That's what that
Yeah.
means. Yes, and being able to remove counters in this new set is going to be really important, right? Because you're
Yeah,
going to have all the
huge.
poison counters and all
Well,
of that.
poison you can't remove. So from yourself, you're not gonna be able to remove poison counters with this.
Oh, okay.
But you
well,
can
thanks.
no, you can do toxic stuff. So if you proliferate on toxic, right, you could bump up the toxic style. So you could, always maybe take that down. So there's ways that could matter.
Toxic shouldn't be a counter, so you shouldn't be able to do it.
No, but I'm saying if you get a toxic counter, there are creatures that put toxic counters on
Oh,
players.
really? I
Yeah.
didn't know it was toxic counters.
There's like, hey, give other people toxic counters or whatever.
I think
on
it's just
creature.
give them toxic 1, but I don't know if it's a counter. I don't know. I'll have to Google it.
Oh.
Either
Fun
way,
things
though.
that we're all going to let Arena figure out for us when we
Yeah.
start playing this.
This is one thing, like proliferate, hard to say. Also very hard to keep track of. This is a game in paper that's a mechanic that really slows things down because you have to really look around the board and go, not you, but you, but you. I'm really interested to see what the interface on Arena looks like for that because that could kind of get annoying with a big board state.
It's Krabby Crab. You ready for Krabby Crab?
This is a
Coming in
bad
at number
card.
8 is Geth, Thane of Contracts. 1 black legendary creature, Phyrexian zombie. This card is annoying.
No,
So
this card is bad.
look, it is bad, but hear
I
me
just
out.
already hate it because it is a crab, and I have so much hate for the bouncy crab that anything
Oh,
that
that's
looks
true.
like a crab. Oh, and Shieldren kind of looks like a crab to me too.
Hullbreaker Heart and Shieldred had a baby and it's this thing, but it's bad.
Look,
Here's why it's bad. If you're reading this card, it's up on screen now. This is Kyle. 3 mana to animate something. That's the trap. That's the trap of this card. No, it's 6 mana to activate the first time.
Let him explain it and
Yeah.
why he likes it.
look. So you
Don't
are
yuck
correct.
his yum.
It
I'm
is
in here to
definitely
yuck.
because you have to have this card on the battlefield. It has to survive because you have to tap it. So it is, and you can only activate its sorcery speed. So even if you did give it haste, you still can't do it at instant speed. But here's the thing: you can return a target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. They have to. Notably, this card doesn't die to Doomblade. This card
I guess there's that if they
can
reprinted it into
reanimate
standard.
things multiple times. It's reanimation on a body, 3/4, right? So it doesn't die to mono red chicanery. Like 3/4 on a stat line is pretty good, and it gets rid of all your like Bethany. How many of your soldier tokens have 1 toughness? Like this just
No.
comes down.
This is
Other
other
and it-
creatures you control, not
Oh
your
yeah,
opponent.
yeah, fair enough.
No,
Okay, so
there's no
look, you don't
upside
want to
here.
be playing
This
those.
is
Yeah.
every
You don't want to be playing this.
caveat they could think of, and they stacked it onto 1 card. Your creatures get 1/1. Sorcery
Other
speed.
creatures. Geth
Yeah.
is fine.
If you and the thing you said, yes, it can reanimate multiple times, but not the same creature multiple times. God forbid,
Not the same card.
not the same one because it's going to go to
Mhm,
exile after
yeah.
it comes back 1 time. So if they deal with it, they've dealt with
Oh
it.
no, my Atraxa is only a 6/6
Here's the thing,
flying
I
lifelink
think
death touch
this-
vigilance.
Yeah, this could be good if you're playing it on turn like 9 or 10 and you're using it to bring other stuff back. But if you're playing it on turn 3, like it costs,
Yeah.
like you're not gonna
Good
have
thing I
anything big on the
dumped.
board.
Good thing I dumped Atraxa on turn 2
How?
with Cathartic Pyre.
So then on
okay.
turn 4, you're bringing it back.
Yeah,
I guess, man, that is
and
Christmas
then I'll do
magic.
it again. Yeah, look,
you
it's
can't do it again.
look. Here's the thing, though,
Gonna get
Mark.
exiled.
Are we gonna make a Geth deck?
I'm not. You
Oh,
can
I
spend
am.
your rares on this.
Yeah. It's
Go
gonna
for it,
look.
bud.
We're gonna do the thing. It's gonna be awesome. This card is the definition of dumb cheating because we're really testing one thing and one thing only. Does my opponent have removal?
Man,
And they have
it's
2 turns to find it.
I guess, yeah, I guess there's that. I just think it is the most aggressively costed reanimator you could imagine, right? 3 is cheap in terms of recurrence, but again, it's 6 to start with, and then every caveat they could think of. I'm just maybe for the memes, but there's no way this is in standard. I will absolutely eat my words on this one. This is not a good card.
No, it is not. But it is for the
It's
memes,
fun.
and
It
therefore
is fun.
good.
It's a fun card.
Speaking of for the memes, can I interest you in an Ickermoon Gauntlet?
No, you cannot. This is a card. Unlike all the other ones, maybe I think this one might kind of be busted. This
Yeah.
might be bad.
This scares me. I just see Teferis for days
Yeah.
in this thing, and I'm just instantly like, I'm gonna scoop. I hate this deck. I hate
love
playing
this.
blue. I hate Teferis. I hate Planeswalkers. Like, I'm not doing this.
This is the Super Friend Nightmare, is what this is.
Oh, I do
Yeah.
love a Super Friends deck
This is, throwing this down on turn
with a
3.
brokers.
Oh.
Ooh.
That'd be
Just
bad.
the idea that you can proliferate and that you can minus 12 to take an extra turn, and whenever you cast a non-spell or a non-creature spell, you can choose a counter and like put an additional kind. Like you
It's
can get.
a little like prowess mini proliferate.
It's
is
so
what that is.
much. You can get a planeswalker up so fast to their ultimate with this thing. Like it's bananas.
If you put this in a deck, right, it doesn't matter. Wizards, it doesn't matter what you do. Almost all the time, yes, Alchemist Gambit notwithstanding, almost every time, when you put take an extra turn on a card, you mess it up. You mess it up real bad. And I think the only reason why Alchemist Gambit isn't plaguing Standard right now currently is because we're in such a fast format, right?
And red.
And red, right? Which is kind of like the weaker card type right now. It's just so needlessly risky to put this on a card. Nobody likes extra turns. It's just a bad idea. And then it's not just extra turns; it's extra Super Friends turn. This obviously is meant to go in a Planeswalker heavy deck, and I just feel like you're just channeling all the rage now because it's like two things that people really don't like to get beat down by $50 cards. And also take an extra turn for the indignation. Yeah,
This card's already
Teferi's-
$27. I don't know if you saw.
Oh, yeah, but then the planeswalkers on top of it, like,
Yeah.
good God.
You
No.
know, it would be be glad that this isn't in Standard at the same time as Blood on the Snow.
Do you think people are listening to this that play Paper Magic, or is it just like Arena?
A little bit of both. I mean,
I
I
don't
play
think there's
Paper
a lot
Magic.
yeah, but there's not a lot of standard paper
No.
magic.
Where you're like
No.
buying these cards.
But this card, I guarantee you, is going to be in Commander decks, guaranteed.
Oh yeah,
You
Or
could do
maybe modern?
disgusting things with this card
Proliferate
in Commander.
0. Yeah. Oh, this is gonna be bad. I'm not saying the sky is falling with this card. I'm just saying it's not good. This card's very good, and that's not good.
It's by far the best card we've talked about, and probably the only card that we're going to talk about today that, if I had to guess, is going to get a ban. I don't think this card is going to get a ban, but if I had to pick one of the cards that we were talking about today, I would say this one because it has the most potential for just doing stupid, broken, unfun stuff. Which is why I want to do it.
Yeah. What's in the meta to take out artifacts?
There's random stuff. I mean, there's not like a lot of stuff. I guess obviously like a braid is there.
Yeah.
The problem
braid is
there's
probably
some
the
green
most
creature
Yeah.
that you can sack.
There's
and,
tons of that stuff.
There's a new one too. There's Liberated Outlander, and then there's another one that's going to be printed in one as well.
Yeah.
There's a decent amount of artifact hate hanging out there, but I would say the only main deck artifact,
Brotherhood's
like
End
strictly
would get this.
artifact hate, that
Mhm.
Brotherhood Inn hits this, and then a braid.
Yeah. The problem with that is though, no matter what you do, you're not gonna. If this was like a 5-mana artifact, then you could potentially be up on that. But you're not really gonna feel good using your Brotherhood's End on this. That's just bad.
No, you're
Even
gonna
in a
want to
braid.
hit other things.
Yeah. Even in a braid is not gonna feel good on this, right? Like there's a potential this could hit the table and do nothing if you just like snap remove it. But even then, you're not really feeling like you've got a big up on that exchange. So I just
Ooh, and it curves so good with your 4 and 5 drop planeswalkers.
That's the other
So
bit.
do it quick, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is just like
Before it's banned.
Good thing Wizards refunds wild cards these days.
Let's talk about an antidote to that nonsense, which is just the biggest, greenest boy you could possibly want. A Tyrranax Rex.
Yeah.
In my original Magic Soul, I like green stomp. I go sideways, biggest boys. And this is I feel like we haven't had one of those in a minute, like a Crater Hoof or something like that in Standard. This is that. This
Elder
is so
Gargaroth,
fun.
probably the last one.
He didn't have haste.
That 7/7
Titan of Industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's good. He's a big green boy, but this is the biggest greenest boy because He has all the things. And the reason why I like him the most, the thing that screams greenest to me is that little first line of text, which says, "This spell cannot be countered." And
Eat it,
I
blue mages.
love that because you can cast him with impunity, right? And then the ward forward on top of that means that there's just going to be so many turns.
Oh, I missed Ward Ford when
Yeah.
I read through it the first time.
So when you put
That's
this
dirty.
guy on the table with haste, unless they have 6 open mana,
Yeah, how is it only that much to cast, and it has all of those things?
Yeah.
That makes me mad when I'm playing things, and I'm like, you didn't spend enough to get
You
all of this.
it's a very aggressive stat line for and all those keyword abilities for a game ender, right? And I guess like you could have Fading Hope and get that down to 5 mana to have some kind of snap response to this, but in most situations this late in the game, you are going to be doing the thing. And let's come back to the toxic in just a second. This is probably a good time to start talking about toxic in this format. But I just love 8 out of nowhere, just boom, go. I just think this is what green needs. Right, we've been talking. Green is just completely hamstrung as a viable option in the current meta, and this gets us there. Right, this can give us that finisher. It's not like green hasn't had things, Defiler of Vigor and Titan of Industry and these things, but I think this is the aggressive thing at the top end that they need. Right, it's not about setting up your board. It's not about value like Titan of Industry. It's just boom, go, H to the face, you lose, right? That's just sexy.
Yeah, Toxic 4 might be flavor text on this card because who's
Maybe.
taking this thing? I could definitely see in some Toxic decks, though, where this is the last thing that you need to get you over the line. Like they've been hovering on like 6 counters or whatever, and this is the last piece to get them there. And, they're relying on a counter spell to protect them or whatever. This card is going to feel really bad when they Fading Hope it, though.
No, but people aren't going to be able to take 8 damage on it because it has trample. So it's going
Yeah, I
to
know.
trample through anything and automatically give people the
Yeah, I
void.
know. I'm just saying, like, with the 8 trample haste, like, it feels like you're gonna kill them before
That's why
this
Oh, yeah.
alone gets them to dead. Like, something
Yeah.
else is gonna have to do some toxic work before this.
Yeah.
the toxic part I do think is more than flavor text in that sense, just because you're right that like what are the odds at this late in the game you've got 8 toughness just sitting on the board to absorb this? Like you're getting dome for toxic 4. And if you've been, I mean, that's like almost half the toxic game right there in one shot. So if you've been doing the lower end toxic stuff, like I think this card has a home in Green Stompy, but I really do think this has a big finishing potential. You put 2 of these guys in the very tippity toppest end of your toxic deck and just finish the game with them.
I think it's interesting, though, because that toxic deck is already asking a lot, and there's probably not gonna be room for a whole lot of ramp in there. So you're talking about naturally casting a 7 drop. So I mean, there are board states these days. It depends on what the one meta looks like. Are there board states that stagger? Are there a lot of tokens that are gumming up your board? Those kinds of things make this really useful. If it's fast and you're not able to get to turn 7 reliably, then this is just sort of like sitting dead in your hand. There is definitely a version of the next meta where this card is the exact thing you need to bust through and either finish their life points or finish the final 4 toxic. But it's a Phyrexian dinosaur. What more do you want?
I think it's going to be one of those things where it'll be fun if you can play it, but you're not going to be able to count on it to win a game. Because to get to the point
I won't hear it.
to play it.
Yeah, it really depends on how aggro. In this current meta,
Yeah.
this doesn't really have a chance. So like how often, in order to survive, when you cast that Titan of Industry, you're counting on that 5 life, which is pretty grim, and the 4/4 Rhino Boy to just be the extra blocker so you don't just get slammed on the next attack wave. This doesn't have either of those 2 options.
Hey, maybe in your Phyrexian chaotic transformation deck, you put this and the Titan too, because then when it comes in, you're immediately doing damage to them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see this in a toxic shell, and I think depending on how you build it. Also, the 3 green for the 7 casting cost is not nothing. Like this does need to be in a pretty reliable deck because last thing you want to be doing is setting on 7 mana and only 2 of them are green, and then you still can't cast this GD thing. So
I don't know what the toxic deck is, but it's green. It's got to have green.
I don't know, man. I think
there's too much green. Dimir toxic ain't it.
I'm going to be checking out the thing since we're paused for toxic anyway. I was surprised at like how many cards had toxic on it and how many like everything but red. Like I was looking at a mono white toxic shell. There's just a lot of ways. I just don't think that there isn't going to be a toxic deck that is at least A tier standard in the next set. There's just too many angles and too many colors to get a
I
toxic
think
deck
this
together.
is the hot take coming out of the gate. If Toxic isn't one of the better decks, or like in the A tier, then I think it's a failure. Like as a set, as a whole set, because if we're just ignoring Toxic, then not only is that bad flavor, whatever Phyrexia, but because it's so heavily represented, it's just like all of a sudden most of these cards just don't matter, and that would be a really bad shame. I think all the corrupted stuff, all the toxic stuff, all the enabling stuff, even the proliferate, right? Like all that just doesn't matter.
I can't say that word.
I really
I mean,
Proliferate.
I think you said it correctly. It just sounds funny.
can't. Proliferate.
Sorry.
You know what I want to proliferate on, Mark?
Nope.
Nope.
The Archfiend
Nope.
of Dross.
Yeah, another spicy take from yourself.
So for those of my visual listeners, this looks like Braids, the creature
Oh,
card.
it does look like
It does, yeah.
Mhm.
It is a 2 black, so 4 CMC Phyrexian demon with flying, and it ETBs with 4 oil counters on it. At the beginning of your upkeep, so notably, not the turn you cast it, you remove an oil counter from Archfiend of Dross. Then, if it has no oil counters on it, you lose the game. So,
Suck.
a bit spicy, but here's the thing. This comes down on turn 4. That means you have like the rest of that turn plus 4 more turns, and you got a 6/6 flyer for 4. Like that's bananas. And whenever a creature an opponent control dies, it loses 2 life. This card is a beater. And unless there is a card that just happens to be main decked out there that is just like, let's say Glissa, that would be the ultimate punish for this card. Of course, this card eats Glissa's. Well, no, it doesn't. Glissa just kills this thing. So
Glissa kills
Glissa would be the
everything.
punish for this
God,
thing.
I'm gonna make so many people upset when they go to block Glissa. I'm like, first strike, death touch, you lose.
Yeah.
New blocking math.
But the so imagine you cast this thing and then they cast a Glissa, or they attack with your Glissa, and then they take 3 counters off this, and then in your upkeep you have to take the 4th oil counter off. You just lose the game.
That is rough.
Barring
That is a
that,
sad
though,
move.
this card is a beater, man. The fact that it has evasion is just stupid on turn 4. I know this isn't strictly a limited show, but this card is the bombiest bomb in limited outside of the Wandering Emperor. Like this card is
T-Rex
disgusting.
would like to have a chat with you on that one.
T-Rex isn't going to hit the field if I cast this on turn 4 on the play.
T-Rex doesn't have reach.
Yeah.
He might not. He might
You're
not
dead.
lose that race,
But look,
that's
if you
fine.
let this thing hang around till turn 7, you're dead. I killed you already.
I always draft removal, but I don't think the problem is the oil counters. We've seen with Solkanar in Standard right now, having a negative consequence for a aggressively good creature is actually not a problem. I'm not thinking we really have to worry that much about oil counters running out, right? There's ways to bump it up, and like you said, the clock is pretty long here. I'm just not sure in a Shieldred format, in a, oh my god, all the other value formats, that just a good old 6/6 with like a little bit of upside on this 2 life loss thing is good enough. I don't know if it's worth the opportunity cost. There are even more dumb, powerful things that you could be doing right now. So I'm just not convinced that this is it. I hate to be the guy that's like, 4-drop does nothing, but it does nothing the turn it enters the battlefield. You've got a whole turn to keep it alive, and then your opponent's turn to keep it alive. It's just, I'm not sure that's it, We'll
Okay,
see.
it's the
I
same
think
thing
it's
with
gonna be
Sheldred.
good. We'll take a vote.
Shieldred's gonna
this
at
card's
least
gonna
get
be
that.
good.
It's gonna get that untapped, maybe 2 damage. Like that's worst case scenario if you play your Shieldred right.
Yeah, but anytime, so you play it on turn 4, you can block with it. That's going to be the biggest creature on the board, turn 4. So you can block
Easy.
with it,
Not Glissa.
which they're not going to attack. Okay, but you don't have Glissa on turn 4.
I have it on turn 3.
It's true.
Okay.
If Glissa just destroys this thing, there's nothing that you can do. Glissa just
Stop.
you're gonna lose the
making that
game with
motion.
Glissa's not happy with this
Okay,
card.
well, whatever with Glissa, but otherwise, really good turn 4 card. I think.
Mark's like, if I
1990
actually have the exact one card in the entire
No,
format,
I think you're just looking at like mana cost and power toughness. And 1999 would like to have its magic card back. It's not good enough.
No. But also that it loses 2 life anytime any of their creatures dies, which is going to slow the roll on the aggro decks for sure. That it would attack into you anyway, even if you're going to kill it.
I think that's why this card only belongs in an Aristocrats. deck. Like if you have sacrifice opportunities, obviously all of a sudden the scary oil counters aren't so scary, and you're out here pinging with your Elisol core and whatever. We're going to talk about that deck in just a minute, little foreshadowing.
Yeah, but
But I
it
think
is
that's the
of
only
note
deck.
though. It's only when a creature an opponent control dies does it ping.
Yeah. But that's still pretty good. That's,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be good. I think you're going to see it in some mono black decks. Get some Shieldren in there. They're going to have to take out one of the two of them. I don't know. I think it's going to be good.
I think it might be. I think in some decks it might be better than Shelly. Get ready for that spicy take.
Bold take. You're out of your damn mind.
Hey, do y'all think this is not about Shelly? I get that. Is it like a cockroach?
This thing?
Or a crab? No, a Shelly. Yeah.
She's got a big old snake body.
I think it's like a big old cockroach.
I think,
with a little bitty
she's
head
like
at the
she's
top.
got like a bug queen thing. Like that's her big old abdomen.
She scares me.
I don't care for her. She seems like a tough hang.
Okay, sorry. The mosquito card. Y'all don't think that looks like a mosquito? It's got blood in its body.
That's the anger and the hatred in Drivnod Carnage Dominus.
Some of you no longer live in a swamp, and it shows, Kyle.
Yeah.
That's true.
Sorry.
I haven't seen a mosquito in a long time. Look, this is the black of the Dominus cycle. And by the way, great job on that cycle, Wizards. Like, good job on that cycle. We're going to talk about in the spot here. What is this number? You start talking while I count, Mark.
No way.
10,
Not doing
9, 8,
5.
7, 6,
I think it's
5.
3?
This is 4 split between Drivnod and Mondrak, the white and black Dominus, because they go like fine wine and cheese together. But first, we're going to talk about
let's talk about mosquitoes.
Like a fat cat and a Ginny Fay. These two go together.
They do though. Look, this
like
Dominus is
and
awesome.
me wanting to throw my goddamn computer out the window.
Yeah. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of that permanent of permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers twice. This is the card for aristocrats because now every death trigger, all the things that you wanted to die anyway, are triggering twice. Here's bonus points because the Carnage Dominus actually allows you to pay with 2 black Phyrexia mana. So for 4 life, you could put 3 cards into your grave or exile 3 cards from your graveyard, which you're probably going to have on turn 5 if you're aristocrats, and then you just put an indestructible counter on this thing, which is
pretty
bananas.
No mana
required.
3 stat line. Now all of a sudden you're kind of like doing what aristocrats doesn't usually do and just swinging big and unafraid with an 8 power guy. That's a lot. I think the thing that's missing here in standard that other formats will have access to for aristocrats, yes, this will make your LSL core trigger multiple times, and that's cool. But think about like what was that guy that was from D&D, the Ghast, that had the death
Shambling
trigger?
Ghast,
right? His death trigger could trigger an additional time. I don't think we really have much of that in standard. Maybe I'm missing something. Hit me up in the comments if there's a really cool, oops, I died, here's some value card. I know there's some, but to me, there's nothing that screams like, I need to make that happen. So now all of a sudden, you're in this very narrow lane, which I love an aristocrat shell. I'm not saying that's like a bad lane to be in, but I just wish there was more flexibility with this card. It's the easiest Dominus to get the indestructible counter on, so that's really good. It's very aggressive in its stats. 5's a lot, for this kind of card, but I guess maybe in the very top end of your aristocrats deck, this could, be a one of maybe something like that.
Let me sell you with Mondrak here, Glory Dominus, because that's the other one tied for the 4 spot here because it's on curve with Drivnod and it's 2 white, and you get to make multiple tokens. So imagine this
out
curve.
Here trying to Halo Fountain again. I know.
I love tokens.
Let me paint you a picture. 2-drop Illicel Core, 3-drop Wedding Announcement, 4-drop Mondrak, 5-drop Drivnod.
I don't hate it.
It's not a bad combo. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
A Shelly in there for fun, maybe.
And then turn 5, I do burn down the house and make you sad.
No, you would have
sorry.
burned down the house before we got there.
My Drivnod is already indestructible. So what are you going to do? Now I'm going to hit you in the face for 8.
Yeah, that's rough. Maybe I'll just put up my Blinky Boys.
Ooh, Mondrak is the most expensive card we've already talked about on TCG Player.
It's insane.
$54 already.
Yeah, this is a lot, and it's gonna be because I think this has obviously got a lot of synergy in like Commander and stuff. Just the tokens we've seen, doubling season, parallel lives, right? All that good stuff.
Yeah. Also with Mondrak, it is a sack outlet.
That's the deal, right? So being able to have a consistent recurring sack outlet for 3 mana or even, worst case scenario, maybe 1 and a 4 life, right? That ability to just get those extra triggers, maybe just do the last bit of damage, finish them, is really good. I think that Mondrak absolutely could. I again kind of worry about it. It's that top end of the aristocrats curve. It's a legendary, so you're going to be it's legendary with potentially indestructible. So I'm a little bit worried about having like a bunch of these just gumming up my hand. So I think this is like a 1 or 2 of, along with the other Dominus. But we're getting there. We're getting pieces to kind of get that value for this sack deck that could become a real thing. I still think it needs like a Bastion of a Remembrance or Rip Meat Hook Massacre to make that happen. But I'm definitely going to try. I'm going to try to brew it.
I will say, like, I think this has more potential outside of just black white in that combo, because there's so many good decks
Jenny
that are
Faye.
tokens.
Yeah.
Love me some Jenny Faye.
Fat Cat. You did a Fat Cat deck.
I did a Fat Cat Jenny Faye deck, and it was so fun.
Yeah.
So very, very fun.
This
and
would
so
be silly.
I mean, if we're just talking for fun here, play around
Fine,
with it till it
I'll
works.
redo Halo Fountain. We'll do it
No,
again.
no one's asking for that. Nobody needs that.
Oh man, but I do love. I think that the both the black and the white Dominus are really really awesome, and they just together might form up the shell of one of my favorite archetypes in Magic, which is block my creatures or kill them. It doesn't matter. You're gonna die.
Coming down to the top 3, this one is, to me, the build around.
This is
kind of cool to say.
This card's gonna be a problem.
It's gonna be a thing. Venerated Rot Priest does exactly what you need it to do.
It's a badass name.
It really is in a toxic deck to get off on the right foot, right? So obviously it's got Toxic 1. It's just a green mana, so you're feeling good about that. But the real trick here is the levels of multitude this little line of text has. Whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. So in the early game, this is doing something really valuable for you. It's protecting your guys from one-off removal. You're going to do a cut down, or you're going to take a poison counter, right? That's pretty cool. This guy or any other guy, 1-to-1 removal, you're getting worst case scenario poison counter. The real tech here, though, that I think is just absolutely fabulous is all of a sudden when we introduce these blue protection spells into the mix, right? So it's not when an opponent targets your creature, then somebody gets a poison counter. It's anytime.
There's white protection spells too.
There's white protection spells too. That's actually a good point. So like Lorwyn's Escape is pretty good. Ooh, yeah. There's something
Shield
there.
spell or whatever,
But
that one.
The reason why I
one drop
trigger
is.
on blue specifically is imagine the scenario where they go to cut down, then you do the hexproof, right? You shore up. Ooh, that hurts. That's 2 poison counters right there. And they lost a card, and you saved a card. It's a blowout, no matter how you talk about it, right? That's just bad news for them. They're well on their way. They're 20% poisoned just in that exchange. But the reason why I think this is really, really silly is, and I'm not near the first person to point this out, if you do March of Swirling Mist and target multiple toxic creatures, all of a sudden you're just ripping however many poison counters you can pay for that.
They don't have to be toxic, man.
Yeah, it's any creatures.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. So I'm just assuming all your creatures have toxic in the toxic deck. But yeah, whatever you got. If you've got 5 guys out and you've got 6 mana, or just a blue card exile for March of Swirling Mist, boom, out of nowhere, finish the game.
Y'all, he's sweating.
Yeah, it's getting.
Look, I'm sweating too a little bit because I'm not the most boomer of Magic players, but I played back in Mirrored Block, and I got like Infect was annoying as hell to deal with. And granted, I think Wizards fixed quotation marks around that. Please don't snip that video for later. Infect, because the thing that was annoying with Infect is control players hated it because every card was a threat, and creature aggro players hated it because all their creatures got killed by Infect, and that was really annoying. This just being able to do
it like it's 2 words. Infect.
In fact, it is infect.
Infect. It's infection.
It's fine.
I'm just
Whatever.
saying. Though, like that was a spicy time in Magic the Gathering.
I kind of want it back though. I'm saying that now. I will regret it.
Do you think that Finn was sort of like a little test balloon? Finn the Fangbearer was like,
why?
You guys like that?
Yeah, that card in this set would be bad news. But it's just weird that it was like so unsupported at the time. Like just very little Death Touch fun in there. But I mean, I guess it really wouldn't matter that much because like we're so past Death Touch poison in that very specific thing. Like we're on just full on toxic. So yeah, I'm
Historic Brawl is going to be a thing. That's gonna be a thing.
done a Britney Spears reference, and we've said the word toxic like 55
I've already
times.
I've already done.
Look,
Oh, is that what you were doing?
Brittany's been through a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just giving her some space to figure out her life right now while she pulls everything back together before I'm like,
Did you say pull her hair out?
pull her back together, pull her life
Sure.
back together.
Don't.
No, tell me, for the sake of those of us on here that aren't boomer Magic players, you gonna tell me what infect means?
So infect was like toxic, but if it dealt damage to a player, they got -1 counter, -1/-1
I mean
counters.
creatures,
Yeah. So if you had like infect 1 or whatever, and you dealt damage to a player, they got a poison counter. But if it got blocked, that creature got a -1/-1 counter. So
Kind of like a slime counter.
kinda, yeah. And it
But
just
that you
like
have to trigger. Okay.
so basically you'd have like this crappy 1/1, and you'd have maybe like, I don't know, like a 2/1 flyer or whatever, and you could block with it, but then or what, like a 2/2 flyer, but then your flyer gets weaker or whatever. Just it's got a -1/-1 counter on there, so it became like super punishing
Yeah.
to block these creatures as well, and it just became very annoying. And
much
some
like
people,
Mirrodin.
not myself, like I never thought, I was never super mad about infect play or infect, but there was a good portion of people who felt it was like cheating, like they were snatching the game away. Like you're sitting there with a full grip of cards and 25 life, but you just lose to this alternate win condition. Granted, though, poison's been around for a long time, and it's not a new mechanic anymore. So I think there's room for it. And if you're gonna do it, like we're back at Phyrexia, like
The difference there is two things. It's not an alternate win condition. It's just, hey, what if you had half as many life points, right? That's the idea here. And that's what we're dealing with poison counters. And the trade-off there is that you have to play suboptimal creatures usually to make that happen. Seems like that's less the case here because we've got some really aggressive toxic boys. So maybe that's not going to happen. But also, I suspect sweepers are going to get really popular real quick because you're just going to whoosh the board away. And that's why, again, I keep going back to this whole blue protection synergy. Phase all your guys out to dip the sweeper and get the poison going, right? I really think there's something to this Bant poison situation. So we'll see how it goes.
coming in at number 2, we've got the reprint Phyrexian Obliterator. 4 black for a trample 5/5. Whenever a source deals damage to Phyrexian Obliterator, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents.
Where were you when I was trying to play with the lantern? Where were you, Phyrexian Obliterator? Give me back my sweet, sweet God of Fear, Turgrid, and this card. That's a commander game I want to play.
There's kind of a red card right now in Standard that does something similar, right?
To this guy?
That does damage to other creatures.
Oh, you're thinking of Ill-Tempered Loner.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a dirty card to play against.
It is.
So if it's
check out
make
up
it
here
go
or over
infinite.
here, whichever one it is. I'll link the video for our Infinite Life game with Ill-Tempered Loner. But here's the thing. Here's the secret spice. Basically, Phyrexian Obliterator is most decks unblockable because you'll note you don't want to block it because then you have to, not only do you lose the creature probably that's blocking it, but then you have to sacrifice another creature or an artifact. Or if you don't have any of those, you start sacrificing land. So it gets really nasty. But here's the thing.
How does it not say, I'm reading it again, how does it not say non-land permanent?
That's just not the way we did things back then.
Lands.
Okay, let him finish.
Here's the thing, though. Fight spells are the ticket with Phyrexian Obliterator, so you force your opponent to fight Phyrexian Obliterator, and then you start stone raining them out of the game.
Like a Chad in a bar, it is straight fight me, bro. But there's so many good fight spells in this current meta. Bushwhack is one of them. I've got a Fight Club deck already built for this. It's currently terrible. It's so bad. It relies on prize fighting. It doesn't work. It is like 40%.
How do you even attack against this?
You
So
can't.
like I can't even swing in against him.
Yeah, and
You
you
don't
can't.
block him.
You
Or I'm
can't
sacking
like
everything. You have to have removal to get rid of him before
Yeah.
you can even attack, right?
you
You
can't, and
have
you
to
can't use
basically
damage-based
have-
removal. Like God forbid you blow 2 lightning bolts on this thing.
You have to do.
Okay, I
basically-
freaking hate mono red. Like I hate playing against mono red.
Oh, this
so
card is the end of mono red.
yeah,
Yeah.
it makes me kind of happy.
That is true.
There's also and I've seen this happen in multiple commander games where somebody will buff the opponent's creature and then fight it. So like
God, that's mean.
you make it an 8/8, so your Phyrexian Obliterator loses, but they have to sacrifice
Just
8 other
all their land.
permanents.
Y'all, that's kind of chicanery.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna say.
that I enjoy. Like, even if I lose that way, I'm like,
You're just
that
like-
was a fun way to
Here's-
go out.
I
Thank you
think-
for being innovative.
I know this is a reprint, but I know fight spells are not good. They're not even the best green kind of removal. But when you think about like how many, if this card, which is going to fit into a very good deck, mono black is still, don't let the hype fool you, still very, very good. You stick a few Shieldreds and this guy in the 4-drop slot with an Invoke Despair hanging out 5, and then just dumb creatures all the way down. God, that's really good. Even without the fight spell silliness, right? That's just so good. Like you said, it's unblockable. You just got to burn removal on it. You just got to have it. And I know everyone's like, yeah, dies removal. That's what the same thing that happens to
Well,
Shieldred.
then they have to spin the removal.
But and they
like,
got
end the turn.
How many
Yeah.
times have you seen someone sitting across you with 4 cards in their hand, and the Shieldred's on your in front, and you're just like, they just don't got it. They
Yeah.
just don't got the removal. They're digging. They just don't get, you lose. And we could be in the exact same situation with this card, even without the fight spells. I think this is just a.
But don't worry, ladies and
fantastic
gentlemen.
card.
Magic is fun. We'll be building this card with the fight
Day
spells.
one. This is day one.
Craft it.
Day
Yeah,
one
we're
craft for
doing
me.
it.
I'm gonna break this card.
Hold on. So that's not even number 1. So I'm really excited to see what number 1 is then.
The number 1 card, the card that we, and through our very scientific processes at Magic is Fun, have determined to be the most fun card for Phyrexia, all will be one, is Sulfum Mayhem Dominus.
You know this is salt. Salt. Goddamn.
For
You
my
know this is Kyle. This
Huh.
is the flames. They're burning you.
For my visual listeners, this is the kind of card that would have the Baptists burning some books and praying for me.
It's true. Don't
if
show your
my
dad
dad
this card.
found this in my
Yeah.
room. So I will just
For
say.
sure. Hey, Bill, do you want to see something crazy?
Somebody is worshiping something in the middle of a dark forest.
I think it's a cathedral.
It
It's the
might have
Mayhem
been, I don't
Dominus.
know.
If you don't know what
It's
this
scary
card
looking.
does, it lights the world on fire. For 2 red, you can, if a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent or a permanent opponent controls, it deals double that damage to a player or permanent instead. You do the thing, 1, 2 red Phyrexia mana, discard 2 cards, put an indestructible counter. I don't think you're going to be wanting to do a lot of that. You're probably not going to be getting indestructible on this guy a whole lot of the time, unless you just really, really have to. Basically,
Oh, what if Madness was in the format? I take
Just-
risks.
just imagine just a lightning bolt that just domes someone for 6.
Yeah, and it's only 4 mana, and it's a 5/4. Like, this card on its own is a beater. Like, this card is, this is the ticket to a red deck that plays no other creatures. This is you just like it's so much reach on its own. This card can close out games, but I there's so many things I want to do with this game with this guy. Like, but I can't help but thinking I'm gonna go back to, what is that guy? Sir, what's his name? Or what's her name?
Mix a
Mhm.
lot.
Yeah, Sir Mix-a-Lot. No, the thing that does like the burn, it's the Boros burn card.
Oh yeah, the flying night guy.
I'll
he's
put it
really
up on the
good.
screen. But
He's riding a stork or whatever.
it's a swan, I think. Look, the point is this card just does everything that you want, and it's just so hilarious to turn shocks into like just 4 damage. It's just, oh, it's gonna be so scoop
Just
inducingly
lava
angry.
axes to the face. Brotherhood's End all of a sudden becomes better than Burn Down the House with 6 damage. That's pretty good. Burn Down the House becomes just an absolute board wipe, and the devils from Burn Down the House are supercharged now. You just popping people. You block my devils, you take 6 to the face.
And on the off chance this game goes long, an arcane bombardment with it would be dirty, dirty, dirty.
I would love an arcane.
Oh
Bombardment
my
with this
god,
thing.
there's so much
That
dumb
might
stuff
be
I want to
win
do.
more on arcane bombardment, but it would be lovely.
It's
Yeah,
just
I just want to burn. I just want to. I
In
want to.
hell for having this card in your room.
I want
Rectus
mono red
Dominos.
burn. It's just not cool that like mono red has just been one thing forever. Like it could be a thing where mono red burn, shoot you in the face, faces the place. Like that could be so much fun.
I know, and we're on the cusp of making it happen. And Sulfin Mayhem Dominus unlocks that entire archetype and makes it possible. Guaranteed, in the first week or 2, we are going to be building a spells slinging Sulfim Mayhem Dominus faces the place deck, and I can't wait to watch somebody trying to dirtle with the 9 other cards that we've been talking about, or the 10 other cards or whatever that we've been talking about, and we're just like, cool indestructible counter, cool aristocrat strategy. How about a lightning bolt and you're dead?
Just love it. I love this card. I love all these cards. I'm really excited about Phyrexia. This just looks like a really fun set. There's lots of bonkers stuff, lots of synergy.
When does it come out?
Tuesday?
Yeah, so if you're watching this the day it comes out, which is, I have a calendar, I'm going to be able to do it. February 2nd, it comes out on the 7th.
Groundhog's Day.
Is that real?
Is that real?
Yes.
We tried to explain that to
February
Europeans.
2nd is Groundhog's Day. That's what day it comes on.
I don't care.
Every day. Every year.
Groundhog's Day is not real. Fight me, Yankees.
A groundhog comes out and tells everybody if it's going to be winter.
No, they harangue this animal
More.
out of a box or something. It's not choosing to do any of this.
Guys, stay on
Didn't it
stay on
bite
target.
somebody? I think it bit someone. I root for the groundhog. It's got the taste
Well, it's
of
February
blood now.
2nd. That's
Okay,
what day it's coming.
To review,
because it was
Phyrexia
at
All Will Be
Phyrexia.
One
Yes.
will release on the 7th.
Is that the
This video
arena
comes out on the
release?
2nd. The Phyrexia releases on the 7th.
Boo! I want to play these cards now. Are
I
you
know,
sure that's
it's
the arena drop date?
Pretty sure. You can Google it though.
I'm not going
But
to. I wanna
let us know
play.
what you guys think. What cards do you think are going to be the most fun from Phyrexia All Will Be One? There are so many archetypes, so many things that are out there. We have a ridiculous amount of ideas of decks we want to build, and this is going to be just so exciting. I love that this card, or that these cards are coming out with a really full standard. There's going to be some more soul lands are coming in. There's just so much opportunity to build the wildest possible decks, and I can't see us even having enough time before March of the Machines comes out to do all the dumb, ludicrous stuff we want to do in this set.
Absolutely. Like and subscribe. Follow the channel. We'll be having lots of All Is One content. And thank you so much, Bethany, Mythic Bethany, for being here. We really appreciate it. I love it. I didn't do any embarrassing things you told me not to do.
Thank you.
So, hooray me.